Imagine for a second your test team having a bowler with the accuracy of Glenn McGrath, the speed of Morne Morkel, a bouncer like Mitchell Johnson, the wobble seam of Stuart Broad, as well as the slower ball variations of Bumrah, mixed in with the intelligence of Ricky Ponting. This player is not real. It's simply not possible to effectively master all the arts of fast bowling into one. A bowler who has all these skills would resemble some sort of perfect dystopian ball machine from the future. Luckily for Australian cricket fans, this isn't some sort of twisted utopia far from reach. This bowler already exists, but you already knew that.
Oh, it's a beauty from Cummins. Oh, chopped on Cummins.
Awesome day, and yeah, I mean the good thing was they weren't too noisy for most of it.
The question about whether Pat Cummins is the best bowler in the world is starting to shift from debate to a known fact. And as his career continues to trend in a steep upward direction, we may need to begin to ask if he is the greatest bowler Australia has produced. Yet there is a sad truth about Pat Cummins, which isn't talked about enough. Once his career ends, it will be a truth many will find hard to swallow. We are already extremely lucky to have seen this much of Pat Cummins' career already. He famously debuted in South Africa in 2011 at just the age of 18, taking 7 wickets for the game and hitting the winning runs in a man of the match performance. An 18-year-old kid, taking the wickets of South African legends like Hashim Amla, Jacques Kallis and AB de Villiers. His action was more loose and less fluid than the one we know today. It had more flaws, meaning less accuracy, but also meant that Cummins exceeded speeds of 140 on a regular basis. It's so unfortunate that he sustained a foot injury in this match, which meant he missed that summer, in which Australia's bowlers took apart the Kiwis and India off the back of debutants like James Pattinson and Mitchell Starc. Over the course of the next few years, Cummins faced various roadblocks, with multiple aggravated stress fractures in his back, a type of injury that cripples many young bowlers before they even get into their career. Between 2011 and 2017, Cummins played a handful of white ball matches, including the 2015 World Cup campaign, where he played a minor role. Despite this, his injuries continued to hold him back. In late 2015, his stress fracture resurfaced and he missed the entire home summer. This meant that Cummins had played one summer of cricket in 5 years. It wasn't until March 7, 2017, that he played another 4-day match. He took 8 wickets and looked promising. This appeared to be the first building block to slowly working Pat Cummins back into Test cricket. Maybe with some luck, he could be playing against England later that summer, or India the year after. That wasn't quite how it panned out. Only 6 days after that Sheffield Shield game finished, Pat Cummins was back wearing a baggy green. Australia were playing a Test series against India and had just lost Mitchell Starc to injury after the second Test. James Pattinson was called into the squad by selectors, but chose to decline the offer. This was a seminal moment in the career and life of Pat Cummins. Pattinson chose not to fly over for a valid reason. He was often called into squads when not at peak fitness, meaning he would come into the team, play a test match, get injured, and miss another 6 months of cricket. With a big summer ahead, that wasn't a risk he was prepared to take. As a result, the next option was seen as Pat Cummins. New South Wales team doctors advised Cummins not to travel. He had only played 1 Shield game in 5 years, and 6 days after was being asked to bowl in the extreme heat of India against the likes of Pujara and Kohli. Yet, ever the competitor, Pat Cummins, after 64 missed tests, wasn't going to miss the opportunity and made the bold decision to travel over there. This is what has happened since then.
Oh, right through him. Oh, hello, LBW, is it? Of a run out. Oh, an edge, there it is! Look at the Aussies! Wow. It's only getting better. Oh, Bolden, there it is! Edge. Oh, my word, what a delivery that is. This is Pat Cummins, this is Australia. Absolutely at their best, the perfect delivery. Bolden, that is outstanding.
It's crazy to think that despite all of this happening, Cummins is still only 30 years old. In just 59 test matches, he has amassed 260 wickets at a strike rate of 46, meaning he has taken his wickets quicker than any other player in Australia's history. As mentioned before, however, the beauty of Cummins stretches further than baseline statistics. It's the fact that he works best when his team needs it most, or in the toughest of circumstances. To illustrate this, I compiled a list of the best 10 batters in the world, currently according to the ICC rankings. Now this is a list of the best ICC test fast bowlers in the world and their averages against the top 10 batters. Pat Cummins falls second on the list, only behind New Zealand's Kyle Jamieson. However, it is important to note that of all the players on the list, Jamieson has bowled the least balls to these batters with only 236 deliveries bowled. The next least is Afridi with 1,014, while Cummins has bowled a whopping 1,411. Strikingly, this means that Cummins is the best bowler in the world at taking the wickets of the big fish on the opposition team. The only player comparable by this metric is Ollie Robinson. He sits just 0.2 behind on average. This stat is even more impressive when considering the fact that Cummins is now Test captain. It means as a leader, he gives himself the most challenging assignments in games in order to lead from the front. Cummins is no doubt a generational talent and is definitely in the conversation as the best in the world. But where will he stack up with the all-time greatest Australian fast bowlers is the question that many have been attempting to work out. The only quick bowlers still ahead of Cummins on the Aussie wicket lists are McGrath, Lilly, Stark, Johnson, Lee, McDermott and Gillespie. Cummins played 11 test matches in 2023, so let's assume he plays 11 a year for the remainder of his career. Keeping in mind his injuries he had early in his career, let's assume he plays until the age of 35. So far in his career, Cummins has taken on average 4.44 wickets per game, so let's say he takes that many per test for the rest of his career. Assuming he plays until 35, he will play a further 55 test matches. When we multiply his test matches plus the wickets per game, we can predict that Cummins will take 244 more wickets in his career, meaning he will finish with a whopping 506 test wickets. That would place him just below McGrath in terms of Australian fast bowlers. Yet of course, this is all speculative. Cummins could go past this figure or could fall short. And that is the underlying sadness about Pat Cummins. Despite all of the joy he has provided for Australian fans, there will always be the lingering question of what could have been if he wasn't so tormented by injuries early on in his career. What if he played the 64 test matches he missed between his debut and the return to test cricket? How many wickets could he have? Well, using the metric we have used earlier of 4.44 wickets per game, we can predict how his career could have looked. Let's add 50 test matches he missed early in his career, removing 14 games to account for potential minor injuries or poor form in that period. In addition to this, we add the current number of wickets from his 59 matches, as well as the 244 wickets we forecast Cummins to take for the rest of his career. Adding up all of these wickets, we can make a reasonable guess. If Cummins avoided injury earlier in his career and took his 4.4 wickets per test for 50 games between 2011 and 2017, he potentially could have got 222 test wickets in the period. Adding that with his current amount, plus the ones we forecast he will take for the rest of his career, then conceivably, Pat could have finished with 728 test wickets according to this formula, as opposed to the 506 we can assume he will finish with in reality. 728 test wickets, which would have made him the highest wicket taker in Australian history, passing the late great Shane Warne. Those 222 lost wickets due to injury have robbed Cummins as undeniably being recognised as Australia's greatest ever player. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the sad truth about Pat Cummins.